District Representative for Indiana, and, sorry.
Thank you, Dean. Well, thank you for inviting me to speak tonight. I really appreciate it. And it's great to be talking to the Tea Party so we can really get into the red meat of conservatism and kind of get past all the cafeteria conservatives where, you know, they like Ronald Reagan, they support the Second Amendment and all that stuff. I have here's some door hangers, and just pass these out. It gives some bullet points about my positions and my campaign. As Dean said, my name is John Colburn. I was born and raised in Silversburg, graduated from Silver Creek, attended college at a little school called Rose Holman. I don't know who she is, but and then after that, I got into the world of entrepreneurship, started a pizza restaurant in Henryville, and now I own an accounting firm in Silversburg. So I'm an engineer that does accounting, so by definition, no personality. And I am not a professional politician, as will become intuitively obvious here in the next few minutes. One of the reasons that I am running to be your next representative is I am the best person to represent your hopes, your dreams, and your aspirations for yourself and your family. And I'm going to do that by working with other constitutional conservatives to reduce the size, the scope, and the power of the Indiana state government. The last two budgets that our state legislatures have passed have been the two largest budgets in our state's history. Nearly $44 billion for the Indiana state budget. And you know, the legislature pats themselves on the back because they did pass one of the largest tax decreases in state history. But if we weren't passing the largest budgets in state history, then we could reduce those taxes even further. And one of the taxes that I specifically would like to cut are property taxes. And even more specifically than that, let's eliminate property taxes for everybody that's 65 years old and over. I mean, those people, they've done their bit for God and country. They shouldn't have to pay rent on their homes to the state government. And it's going to be very easy for us to eliminate that loss of revenue by reducing or eliminating the Department of Education. The education of our children, that should be pushed down to the local level, to the classroom, where it is the teacher and the parents and the student. We don't need an entire bureaucracy in Indianapolis telling the teachers what to teach our kids. They're our kids. We know best how to teach them. We know what they need. They need to know how to write in cursive. They need to know how to do math. They don't need to understand, that emotional social learning, okay? We don't need that. We need reading, writing, and arithmetic. And let's throw in a little bit of history there so that our kids aren't twisted in believing what the United States is supposed to be about. One of the things I look to do is to reestablish a free market economy. One of the buzzwords that you'll hear on the news and read in the paper are public-private partnerships. But that sounds good, doesn't it? Getting the public and the private sector to work together. But what's that really mean? That creates these situations like the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, where you have our tax dollars going to the state legislature. The legislature giving those dollars to this corporation that they appoint. They get to spend our money, but we have no say in who's on that board or how they spend that money. We end up with projects like the LEAP project. We end up with solar farms. We end up with wind farms. And these things are really not in our best interest. They're in the best interest of the oligarchs from China in getting their tax credits, and they're not having to pay property tax on that. And then, and the last thing that I kind of want to go over is, I'm not going up there to play politics. I want to take that ball away from the rhinos, the neocons, and I want to move the ball back toward our republic. Right now, we have suffered the incrementalism of people going up there to go along to get along. That's not what we need. We need to take that ball, move it back toward the end zone, and reestablish our republic where it's us, we the people, who are in charge and not the government, and certainly not the rhinos in the state legislature. Spoke a little bit about the Second Amendment, and I don't just support the Second Amendment. I believe in it. The Second Amendment is not, it's not a living sentence. It's not a living phrase. It's set in stone. It is absolute, just like the entire Constitution and all of our amendments. The Second Amendment was not created to be a backdoor for hunters or for sportsmen to shoot guns. It was to do two things. It was allow the individuals to protect their personal property, their families, and themselves, and to be the ultimate backstop to a government that is turning toward tyranny and despotism. And so that's a pretty quick synopsis of what I stand for and where I'm coming from. And with that, I'd like to see if there are any questions, because that's where the real fun is, right? So, anybody have any questions about anything specific or general?
Well, I got a question,
All right.
and I'll ask this all summer long. We so oppose electronic voting machine. Now, I'm not talking about the tabulating machine that counts, where you highlight the thing and then the machine counts it, but if you notice, all the voting machines are in Democrat-held territory. Indianapolis, Gary, New Albany. We should have it uniform throughout the state, that we have voting limited to certain days and also to written ballots. So, but where do you stand on those issues?
Well, it's funny you mention that. I wrote a book, it's a long time ago, about 20 years ago, about politics. And one of the things that we talked about in that book was voting. And in that book, we suggested that Election Day being a national holiday. We have national holidays for presidents, for Martin Luther King Jr., for Independence Day. All these things are important, but they all hinge on free, open, and honest elections. Why can't we set one day a year, or every 4 years or 2 years, set one day aside to be Election Day? We don't need mail-in ballots for 6 weeks before Election Day. We don't need early voting a month beforehand. We have Election Day. And we cast our ballots on paper ballots, and I'll stop short of saying hand count, because to me the logistical effort of trying to hand count all the ballots in one night seems overwhelming. But I'm sure that there's a way that we can count and still have 100% confidence that they're being counted correctly, as opposed to